How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining us here on what we expect to be another magnificent Monday and even a wonderful week as we started off with our monthly mental health matters. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us here as we invite you to be a part of our discussion for our monthly mental health matters. And joining me in the studio is always appreciate her company, Dr. Alexandra Borden. Together this month, Mr. Jason Jones. Dr. Borden, good afternoon, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming on board.
Yes, no, thank you for having us here again.
You know, every month I look forward to our discussion, and every month I learn something new that prompts me to read, to explore, but to appreciate that sometimes we labor on misconceptions, sometimes we always believe that this was what it was because it was repeated by someone somewhere at some point that had influence, and then over time, wasn't quite the same. Well, for those who join us, we'll get there. So this month's show, Dr. Borden.
Yeah. So, we've definitely taken on, a lot of different topics. I really appreciate Radio Cayman allowing us to have this forum for us to discuss and provide information, but also to let the community participate in the discussions as well. And so this summer, in this session for this summer, we'll actually be looking at something that's come up a lot for me in my clinical practice recently, and one that I think is an important discussion for us to have, which is going to be talking to kids and teens about gender identity and sexual orientation. So I think it's something that, having grown up in Cayman, I know can be quite taboo to talk about. But if anyone's talked to a teen these days who has access to the internet, they will know just how much information is out there and just how many messages kids are getting bombarded with every day about sexual orientation, about gender identity, about sex in general, really. And I think any discussion around sex can be difficult and uncomfortable at times because of a lot of the messages we get generally about sex in society. But these topics in particular can be difficult to understand, to explore personally, and then to have that conversation. So that's what we wanted to look at today, was kind of providing a framework for understanding some of these topics, as well as ways of being able to talk to the kids and teens around you about them as well.
Now, Jason, it's a topic, whether we turn on the news because there's a report, whether we watch something in the media or film, recurring series, songs, and, we go to plays, just general discussions. Mm-hmm. It's out there.
Yeah, it sure is. I feel truly blessed to be here in Cayman helping out now, and specifically helping out with youth. Coming from Canada and having the years experience working with youth back there, it is a different world here for sure, and I want to respect that, but at the same time I want to help youth find their ways through as well. It is a very prevalent topic, is very controversial at times, and there's a lot of different opinions about it. So as we wade through all this and be open to change and growth, I always like to say, be interesting to see where we are in 10 years from now, looking back at this, because, I've seen the evolution of things over the last 10 or 20 years, and I'm always curious to see where we'll be in another 10 or 20 years.
Indeed. Dr. Boyle, from that perspective, maybe to start at the beginning, what is gender?
Yeah. So, and I think that that's a great place to start because, as you know, I lecture at the university, and this is always a big discussion because people assume sex and gender are the same thing. So, sex is the biological aspects, male or female, right? So, this is determined by essentially, you know, the biological makeup, the genitals, and as well as kind of what's expected through puberty. Gender instead is a social construct, and this would be what we'd refer to as masculine or feminine. So off the top of your head, if you think about a little girl and what's associated with them, it's probably going to be pink and dresses and baby dolls. With boys, it's going to be guns and race cars and blue. And so these are stereotypical things that are assigned to different genders. And so gender's social construct, which is seen as different from biological sex. And I think that idea in itself is often hard to get our head around. But if you think about it, because then a lot of times people do jump straight to people who are transgender. And really, if you think about even just masculine versus feminine, it's on a continuum. You know, there's even like metrosexuals will be different than kind of the stereotypical masculine man. And with these days, especially with the rise of technology, you know, the idea of the masculine man is changing because really the most powerful men now are not necessarily the strongest, but the most intelligent ones right now, you know, are the ones who are really making a lot of the money. So I think over time, a lot of our ideas have changed. So that's gender versus sex. But masculinity, femininity, definitely on a continuum.
Jason, is that something that is just confusing now, or you think that's something that's been confusing, not the individuals being confused about it, but just the difference between gender and gender identity, sex, and has that always confused us, you think, as a people?
Well, I think we're learning more as we go. I can only relate to kind of my experience and growth with this because there was a time not long ago, maybe, 5 or 10 years ago, where I didn't even know the difference between, gender identity and sexual preference, sexual orientation. I had no idea that there was a difference there. And then they throw in this other thing where it's sex versus gender. And, then they throw in all these other layers of different sexual preferences. And it really keeps expanding. Like the typical LGBTQ, they keep adding letters onto this to kind of keep trying to include more and more people. So it's continually expanding. I think, I cannot speak for Cayman, but I can speak for where I came from in Canada, where we are at a place where we're much more open about sexual orientation, whether somebody is gay, lesbian, bisexual. We're now starting to understand gender identity. It's like a new phase that we're starting to try to get our heads around and stuff. I'm not sure where we're at in the populace with Cayman, but I'm thinking even just the sexual orientation can be a challenge for a lot of kids, let alone not sure if I haven't talked to many kids that are really, really understanding the whole gender identity even yet.
But Dr. Watt, even, phrases or terms like gender dysphoria. Stumble across that and you're thinking, help us.
Yeah, so that's psychology's new way of identifying persons whose the gender that they identify with, if they feel like a boy or a girl, if they feel like a man or a woman on the inside, if that doesn't match their biological makeup, then there's this term that we use called gender dysphoria, that you're not comfortable, that your identity doesn't match your biological make. And so that would be when they would be beginning to look at possible medical or biological intervention. We used to have, a lot of these topics as well, obviously society is always changing. Psychology is trying to get its head around as well. As we've talked about before, even homosexuality before was considered a mental illness. It no longer is. The old term for gender dysphoria was gender identity disorder, which was saying that there's something wrong with you because you don't identify with your biological
sex. So it's like a mental illness of sort.
Right. Yeah. So the new term now is gender dysphoria, which says that they don't match and that it's causing some issues for the person. So we've tried to step away from it being that it's wrong as opposed to that the identity is not there, and so there are some concerns around gender that's causing some distress.
Okay, respectful now, as we go through this whole discussion about sexual orientation and gender identity, okay, we understand what gender is, just a sexual orientation, we alluded to it, but what is that? How do we... Jason? Dr. Watton?
Okay, so, I mean, as Dr. Bodden said, sex versus gender to start out is, which parts you have is the sex, and gender is really social construct, so it's, which male or female or neither or both am I kind of identifying to feel like. And that's very different. So that's kind of who you are. If you're a male but you feel like a female, or if you feel like a male. Whereas sexual orientation is really concerning who you're attracted to. So am I attracted to somebody of the same gender as myself? That would be considered gay. Or am I attracted to somebody that is of opposite gender to myself? That would be considered hetero or straight. So really it kind of comes down to one of them is who you are, and the other is kind of who you're attracted to. Whether it's, romantically or not, or intimately or not, there's different layers to that as well.
Yeah, and some of the other terms that that will come up with that as well, especially for the kids that have been, watching TV as well. So there's kind of gay, homosexual, there's bisexual, where you're interested in both genders, and both, in both, you're sexually attracted to both men and women, as well as pansexual. We're attracted to all people regardless of their gender identity. So that even takes it a bit of a step further. And asexual as well. So sometimes we see LGBTQA. The A would be for asexual, who's someone who's actually not attracted to men or women.
With the greatest respect, sometimes it gets more confusing, and, well, you referenced earlier, the letters keep adding to it. Mm-hmm. Is that because we're evolving? I use that word carefully but deliberately. We're becoming more conscious, or is it that, it's a free-for-all nowadays, and hey, you don't fit, add something else into it?
I personally think that, this is just my own opinion, really, and mostly uneducated one, I guess, but it does come from talking to hundreds and thousands of youth, is that they just seem to be striving to not be put in a box. They seem to be striving to have their own identity, whatever that is, and be attracted to whatever they want to be attracted to. And they just want to I think they want to shatter this old concept of, male, female, gay, straight, and there is a lot of new information continually coming out, because if people don't feel like that's quite that, then there's a group of people that will come out with a new name, I'm sure, and say, okay, well, this kind of fits me more. Okay. So
we're not talking about biology, which would be the sex. Mm-hmm. I mean, polygender, just things that I've heard over the years: polygender, gender fluid, agender, bigender. Is how we sort of feel at a time, or relate, or identify.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, listen, the phone lines are open. You want to help me out here and give us your input? 949-8037, toll free with the compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. You can WhatsApp. I was checking it earlier. I'll see what I can share from that. It's 925-3261. Some of you have another access. Hey, use it. Ms. Susan will give you her personal number. Use that as well. And it's interesting as we go through today's discussion. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on ensuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore,
Would you like to reduce household waste and to save money? Take a look at the many items in your home that can be reused. Food scraps and yard waste make up 25 to 30% of household garbage, but can be composted instead. Reuse glass jars and containers as storage containers. Repair old furniture and appliances where possible. Preserve landfill space and the environment. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. For more information about waste reduction, please visit DEH at deh.gov.ky.
Nursing, education, social work, media studies, hospitality, electrical, plumbing, AC. Wow, I didn't even know that the University College of the Cayman Islands offered all that.
Yes, all that and more, as well as event management and QuickBooks. They also did customized training for our staff last month. Hey, didn't your son just graduate from high school? Take him so he can apply for the fall semester.
Pursue your academic and professional goals at UCCI. Admissions are ongoing. Classes start August 27th. Visit them or call 623-8224 to learn more.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you so much for joining us for our monthly mental health matters. As we continue our discussion, Dr. Alexandra Borden, Mr. Jason Jones are our guests, talking about sexual orientation and gender identity. And I guess specifically children and parents. If I can ask this, I was just thinking about it during the break. People go through life. Young people in particular, as they grow, I don't want to use the word experiment because that may be the wrong connotation in this context, but they explore different things, careers they want to do, places they want to visit, different things.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be the same? Is it not normal, natural for people to do that with respect to their sex, their makeup, their attractions? Jason, he quickly deferred.
So in adolescence, there is you go through a stage that we call identity diffusion, or where you're really trying to figure out who you are, and what makes you, right? So a lot of times we are, especially as teenagers, we always want to be unique. We want to be special. We want to stand out, right? And so going through that stage, we try on a lot of different identities. I guess that's one of the things I really wanted to hammer home today, is that while I think that this is seen, I think anything around sex is intimidating when talking to kids or teens, for a lot of people in our society. Exactly. Because sex is seen as something we don't talk about. It can be nerve-wracking. We've done several shows on parenting and how to talk to kids about sex. We got into child abuse, how to talk to your kids if there may be something going wrong. So this is another aspect of that conversation. But, kids do try on a lot of different identities as they're growing up, and this is going to be one aspect of it. And as, Mr. Jason has nicely outlined, there are different aspects of this as well, as far as how they identify, who they're attracted to, who they're going to be dating. And so, being able to understand the child and give them the room to be able to figure out for themselves what it means. It's confusing when you're coming into puberty and there's these hormones going on, trying to figure out, because I have this friend that I really admire, or I think she looks good, does that mean I'm attracted to her? Or, there's this guy, we've been friends, we hang out all the time, does that mean I'm attracted to him? And trying to figure out kind of where the feelings come, where they're going, and what they mean to yourself.
If I may ask then, in the Cayman context, but globally as well, we're bombarded by so much. So that element of mixed messages, being confused. So let's say it's two boys, for instance, two teenagers, 15, 16, 17, or 18, whatever it is. They're involved in a sport. They have some common shared bond. So let's say it's for a sport. Because of that, they have this interest, they play, they spend time, they have this bond. Now, are they confused? Are we as a society confusing them because they've, like the same thing, they be interested in the same thing, they seem to, have that bond. Way back when we say, hey man, those two are, really, really close, best friends. Nowadays, we're sort of giving them a license. Is that what we're doing to say, well, yeah, okay, you can go a little further? And if so, what are the challenges? If you get like Jason, you help me out here, man.
Okay, well, I guess my thoughts around that are, when you said, are we giving them a license to go a little further?
And are we confusing them as well? Yeah.
Yeah, like if they're 15, 16, 17, how much do you think we're controlling them anyway? And if they're out playing sports...
You said 5 or 6 or 7.
15 or 6.
No, 5 or 6 or 7.
5 or 6 or 7?
No, I'm just kidding. How much do we control them?
If they're out and about and they're doing sports and they're hanging out and they're making a connection, they've got a connection, And, one of them has some attraction for the other, let's say. And he's not sure whether, that's something real, if it's intimate, if it's, he's wondering if he's gay or bisexual. And, he brings it up or makes a pass or something at the other boy. Either one or two things is going to happen. The boy's going to shut him down, or the boy's going to accept it and they're going to try something out. And then afterwards, then I'm sure they'll have to process whether it's something that they liked or didn't like, or, and it's kind of a process of finding their way. I'm not exactly sure where, we as adults come into that picture other than the messages we've given to them growing up. And left an open communication. If it was my son to say, you can talk to me about everything, it would be what I would want to do. Mm-hmm. But for us to continue to put on rights and wrongs associated with that might be more hurtful than helpful.
Okay, Dr. Warden?
Yeah, and I'd say a lot of times, people who I had friends who would, try things out and who are now happily in straight relationships or marriages. Mm-hmm. I have friends who tried some things as teens and are now happily in gay relationships. A lot of times it's not going to be something is said or you have this conversation with your kid and you turn them gay. That's not going to happen, right? This has been happening for many, many years. Back in the Greeks, it was standard. And this is thousands of years ago at the base of society. So this isn't something new. It is something that was put away for a while or not talked about that is coming out now, and society's having to get their head around again. But there's a lot of evidence now that there might be some biological influence, especially with sexual orientation. And a lot of times, the clients I've talked with, the friends I've talked with, from early on, they knew that they were different and that they either didn't identify as they are biologically or that they were attracted to the same sex. So there may be some experimentation going on, but I'd say that you're not going to flip someone, you're not going to change them like that. A lot of times it is something that they know is different from earlier on. But I would say that having that relationship with your child from when they are 5, 6, or 7 will give you the grounds to be able to talk to them at 15, 16, or 17. And I think that because of the religious overlay with everything, obviously that homosexuality is seen as going against God, I think that's tough. But, that's where having these conversations when the kids are young, preparing them for what your values are and what your beliefs are, but then also building the relationship to let them feel comfortable about talking about things is really important too, so that they can make the best decision for themselves. Have you ever noticed when you tell someone they can't do something, what do they do? Right? I do a lot of work with addictions. As soon as you tell someone you can't do it becomes a lot more interesting.
So then that biological aspect of the research, nature as much as nurture, nurture as much as well as nature, perhaps throughout life, or that's not?
With humans?
Yeah.
It's different in every case.
Okay.
So there's no perfect mix for it. But I'd say that their adjustment, if there is that going on, their adjustment to it. And so actually an article, some of the articles that were shared before as well, mental health issues are huge in LGBT populations, because a lot of teens, if they do come out, or even if they are just questioning something, as soon as they share it with their parents, they're put on the streets. And so that then makes them a particularly vulnerable population, which is why I think it's important for parents to educate themselves on these topics as well. And, and I know, especially in Cayman, a lot of parents may not support it, but at least understanding where they're coming from and being able to have that discussion with kids, or finding someone that can have that discussion with the kids to figure out what the feelings mean, as opposed to just kind of shunning them or putting them out, are important.
I guess with great respect, as parents, we're told, never judge your child, or try not to. So you've always believed your child is going to be a doctor, for instance, because you're a doctor, spouse is a doctor, the grandparents are a doctor, their grandparents were doctors, everybody's a doctor. So little Johnny or little Susie is going to be a doctor. Says, no, I don't want to be a doctor. I want to be a teacher, a talk show host. Parents sometimes, parents, what do you mean? And we, even when we don't mean to, we'll say and do and act in a way. So just like that career choice or the choice of, whatever else. The same with this. I mean, is it that we try not to be as judging?
I think it's even particularly more intense because making a choice to be a radio announcer, your parents were probably disappointed with you, right?
Pretty much so, yeah. But you've had a conversation with them?
It was a choice. It wasn't you. Now, with these other issues, what the message, if a parent does not kind of accept or get to the place of acceptance, like, of course, there's going to be a lot of grief maybe and adjustment and whatnot. But if they're not getting to that place of acceptance, the message they're kind of giving is not your choices are bad, you are bad, you are broken, you need fixed. And that is particularly more devastating, and that's why not just at home, but educators in school and classmates and the schools they're in and jobs they're in, particularly puts them at a higher risk for suicide than other populations.
And that's the risk. We not just ostracize them, but we devalue them, and then all of a sudden we no longer have the person with us because the worst has happened.
Yeah. And Mr. Jason mentioned grief as well, and I think that would be, my first recommendation is that if your kids do come to talk to you about something, don't respond right away, right? It does take some time to process things, because what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of times that gut reaction comes from, your background and your beliefs, but also there is, like if your child does come out as gay, sometimes it seems like, the life you envision for them is going to be different. And so there is kind of that loss of those expectations, that anticipation. These days, anything is possible. They might still get married and have kids. You don't know. But a lot of times that initial reaction is going to be one of grief or loss.
Now, with that, as we look at society and the media generally, whatever it is, we seem to be aware of it. Is it then, I asked this thinking back to what you were sharing, even we go back to Shakespearean era and look at the plays, we go back to, early Greek society and we see the behavior. So, my friends who are Greek will tell you different stories, but that's another time, right? Thank you for that. Talk to point. But today, is it then that we're seeing this and it seemed that, we're downplaying it because it always was, or we're overplaying it because the media will have you to believe it's this high percentage when in reality it's this small percentage, or in fact is it this high percentage and we're ignoring it? Which is it? The fact that the not just the prevalence of the behavior, but the acceptance and I don't want to use the word normalcy. I'm not trying to be offensive, but
well, I would say that it's especially America, the Western world and Cayman. I think it's becoming more accepted. So you're seeing more of it. I mean, I know from growing up here, it's always been here. You just couldn't do it in public, and I think that they are being more open with it then as well. So you are seeing more of it, and I think as they're coming more into the legal realm, we're hearing a lot more about it and seeing a lot more of it as well.
I mean, we'll go back to
which does tend to kind of appear to normalize things.
Yeah, legislators, whether the members of parliament in the UK, the US, senators or congressmen or whatever. Increase it, and let's use them because there have been some notable examples in the last decade plus where they were, nobody said anything, close people, knew, but then when it became an issue, some were handled one way, accepted, others were ostracized and condemned and forced to resign, all sorts of things. Now, it's more and more. The sports athletes,
Oh, yeah, like Caitlyn Jenner, yeah. And I'd say as well, I think putting names on it is something that we're doing now as well, which we maybe didn't as much before as you're talking. And I did just kind of want to kind of qualify some of the things I said earlier as well, is that while I do think it's important to allow kids to explore it, it is still important to give them guidance as well. Something I've shared here many times is that, I identify as Caymanian, but what does that mean to me? And so how does that look in my life? And so if someone else is Caymanian, they might experience it a different way. And it's important for parents to be there to help the kid figure out, what's going on. A lot of the things I've been reading, I think it's especially scary, especially in the States. They've gone quite extreme the other way. And so, a lot of the articles that I've read that we'll share as well have said, it's important to figure out what it means for the kid. If they are, if a little girl wants to be a fireman, it might be that she wants a Dalmatian. But kind of hearing from them what's important to them and what it means, and not jumping to conclusions to judge them, or going out and buying Johnny 6 dresses because he wants to try on mommy's heels because he liked the color or something. So it may be genuine. It may be coming from somewhere completely different. So not to panic, but still to support the kids and help them figure out what it means for them as well. Because especially if they do identify with an alternative, lifestyle, then that's going to be, they're going to need a lot of support to figure out how that's going to work. And if they do go that way, it's okay to discuss society and society's reactions and what to expect wherever you're living.
Well, is that now part of the problem? And when we look at children specifically, when we see maybe the young girl, she's, hey, I want to be a fireman. She picks up the hammer much more quickly than she would the doll, for instance. Well, she might want to be a contractor, an architect, an engineer, a builder of some sort. But some societies, oh no, little girl, hammers are for boys. Here's the little pink, fluffy, frilly thingamajigaball, right? We do that. Not fair, Jason?
Yeah, I think that's a little unfair, and it can be even more confusing for a young person. The bottom line is, I don't think there's many occupations that have to be a specific gender associated with it. And in fact, when I went to school to become a counselor, I received a scholarship because I was going into a primarily female-dominated industry. And there was another girl that got a scholarship because she was going in like automotive or mechanics or something. So they were trying to promote equalities of gender. If a kid is playing with this or playing with that, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're questioning their gender. It doesn't necessarily mean that they want to be a boy or a girl. It's a toy, right? So I think sometimes I was reading on something about putting our adult values on kids, and that, thinking that it means more than it actually does at times. Allowing them to be free with that probably is less confusing for them, because then they might be thinking, well, maybe I'm supposed to be a boy if I need to be a mechanic, rather than I'm actually a girl, but I want to be in mechanics.
Yeah. And I think the reason why I asked that is that even though, this is the century we're in, we still see, us as society, and in this part of the world, I won't necessarily speak for others, we assume that, colors are, must definitely equate to this. And when we look at it from that perspective, the little boy who decides to put on mommy's high heels, who knows, he could be a comedian. I mean, it's just entertaining, whichever. It doesn't mean that he is or isn't or whichever. How do we look at him and respond and encourage and nurture and, give him the freedom to do stuff?
Well, creativity builds intelligence as well. So encouraging them to play and figure it out and, do what they're comfortable with is really important for them, personally and for their development.
All right. Well, when we come back from the break, then the idea that we're looking at, I guess, teens, children, as parents, we as parents are bombarded by so much. We're worrying about paying the bills and providing for their education, and now we're raising them and they're having all these things. Sometimes we forget that maybe we were once confused, or we were once misdirected, or had questions and nobody to answer. What can we do to help them on their path, specifically here? We invite you to call if you want to give us, your input, ask a question. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Give me freedom, give me fire.
Cave Bar and Lounge in Northside, your home for all the World Cup action. Open daily from 10 a.m. with $70 bucket specials during all World Cup games and daily happy hour specials. Feel the passion, feel the fire, free the mind, and enjoy the game at the Cave Bar and Lounge, located on Frankstown Road in the Old Nico Norte.
When I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag. So wave your flag.
Cave Bar and Lounge.
Accidents can happen at any time and can leave a strain on you and your family. Be prepared with Workman's Compensation Insurance from Fidelity Insurance. Our brokers can help you meet your government requirements and ensure that you are covered should an accident happen. Don't leave it to chance. Email Fidelity Insurance at insure@fidelitykman.com for a free quote. Get Workman's Compensation from Fidelity Insurance and get some peace of mind. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Honey, Our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. Our monthly mental health matters, sexual orientation and gender identity is the topic. Dr. Alexandra Borden, Mr. Jason Jones are our guests. Dr. Borden, sometimes I'll look at the subjects that you put on the table and think, man, when is going to be an easy topic?
I'm here for the easy topics.
Well, thank you very much. You've certainly, stretched it for us. And I think it's important that we have this in an environment where people can listen, because there are a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us are not sure, as parents specifically, how do we talk with our children? How do we understand all the things that they're going through? I use education as an example. That child who is going to be going into, I call it high school, whatever it's called these days, and they're going to be taking their subjects, they're going to move them forward to the possible career, whether it's going to be onto university or into the working environment. Parents get involved in that discussion. But that's not, any more important than talking to them about their, other aspects of their lives. Sexual orientation and gender identity comes into that play more and more. Is it that we ignored it in the past? We just didn't want to talk about it? Or it wasn't that it was front and center as it seems to be today?
Well, from my experience in Cayman, I think a lot of times it wasn't talked about because it wasn't allowed. And we've got multiple influences here. So obviously I have some friends that are, identify with the LGBT, and I saw what it was like for them growing up here, and it was really tough. Obviously if there are like feminine tendencies in the boys, especially with the girls got away with it better. They got more dates if they if they showed some lesbianism in them. But especially the boys that had more feminine tendencies had a really tough time here, and the approach really. From my experience from going up here, is they're going to beat it out of them, right? And so either they pray for you because you're condemned, or you're going to be beat up. And I think that we get a lot of the influence as well from the dancehall culture and reggae. A lot of people, especially when I was in the States, they don't. Once they figured out what they were talking about, where they songs are quite homophobic. I'm thinking of a few. I'm not going to try and sing them here. Yeah. But that really encouraged violence against anyone who identifies as gay or bisexual or something that's not the typical heterosexual. And so I think that a lot of it was not talked about. It wasn't safe to discuss it or to identify that way. And so a lot of them went away, went away to school or left the island because they weren't safe here. I think that they are more comfortable here. I don't know if you remember when the first gay cruise ship came and they had the entire police force in town because they weren't sure what was going to happen. I think anything that's different is scary, and can be is seen as a threat. I think a lot of times it's seen as kind of like the LGBT is like taking over, or that we're having to make. I've heard a lot of people say we're having to make too many accommodations for it, but really I think the bottom line is treating people with kindness and respect. That everyone has personal differences. If I may ask,
and not homophobia, what is that and so on, but the cruise ship in particular, thinking back to those of us who may have been in the hospitality sector, who, through our interactions, were very, very cognizant that many gay couples or gay groups, or however you want to say it, I'm not they came to Cayman. They enjoyed themselves. They stayed in the hotels and the condos. There was no question as to what transpired and who they were, but there was no publicity on their part to influence the public agenda. Maybe sometimes in societies like Cayman that are that turn of our development, trying to get accustomed to it. It's no different than a big developer comes in and says, we're going to tear the swath of land and we're going to tear down these old homes and develop this high rise. Neighborhoods that are being, in their minds, changed significantly and drastically and almost immediately may respond. No, this is a little bit different. But Jason,
I think what I'm getting from what you're saying is, it's okay, but don't flaunt it. It's okay, but don't put it in my face. Maybe
not even so much that. More like your perhaps a cruise ship, for instance, or an organized protest in an era when it's relatively new to the society. Yes, it exists. We go about our lives. Thinking back to Cayman, many of us could think of the gay couples, in a sense, who they were always together, but it was never an item to influence the public agenda. Right or wrong, good, bad, or indifferent. The visitors who came, large groups who stayed in the nicer properties, who spent, who probably have friends to this day, decades later. But it wasn't that. So part of the challenge is getting the society to embrace it, to accept, and to be respectful. Part is to not be bombarded in a sense where you're being forced to develop something that you're not ready for as yet.
I think there's a couple of, issues there. Is one is, do we tolerate it, accept this differences from us, and the other is, can they actually, do things like get rights and coverage and Medicare under, recognize it, get married here, things like that, right? So in a way, I think there is still there has to be a fight for equal rights and whatnot in their minds. Just like at one point the women had to fight for their rights, to vote and to be recognized as an individual and things like that. So, I was thinking about this the other day, when they had a pride parade in Miami, and I thought, geez, I wonder what would happen if they tried that here. Would they be greeted with, would they be allowed? Would they be greeted with shotguns? Would they, I even questioned, would this affect my stay here by coming on radio and talking about it?
Well, I don't think so necessarily. let me read a WhatsApp first. And for those who are listening, we invite you to be a part of the discussion. 949-8037, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261, or likewise you can call us toll free 1-800-534-TALK. Sexual orientation and gender identity. Dr. Alexandra Borden and Jason Jones joins us. Says a couple of observations. In terms of sexual behaviors, are your guests saying that sex is no longer a moral matter, therefore we should not use right and wrong when talking about it with our children and youth? Secondly, are your guests familiar with the 2016 Johns Hopkins report, Sexuality and Gender, Findings from the Biological, Psychological, and Social Sciences? That study indicates that the social stress model does not seem to offer a complete explanation for the disparities in outcomes in terms of the health issues as they relate to sexual orientation and gender identity. Appreciate the listener sharing some thoughts there on our WhatsApp. Mr. Gene Jones?
Can I just take a peek at that?
Take a peek at it? All right, let me read it for you.
I need to kind of see it.
Yeah, I can read it for you. I don't peek.
Okay.
There's no peeking.
Okay. If you could read that again.
I can read it for you again. Yeah. All right. So there's a couple of observations. In terms of sexual behaviors, are your guests saying that sex is no longer a moral matter, therefore we should not use right and wrong when talking about it with our children and youth?
Okay, so stop and address that one first.
Yes.
No, I don't necessarily agree that, I think sex is a moral matter. I think it still is a moral matter. And in fact, what I would like to see is more conversations, more communication, more honesty, an acceptance that young people are probably getting involved in sexual matters prior to 18. And that rather than saying it, you can't do it and it doesn't exist, let's be realistic about it and realize that they're, crossing these bridges anyway and help them through it. Because far too often I've seen a young person come to me where it may have been condemned by their parents and they had to do things in private and secret, and they ended up taking far more risks than they needed to. And they would end up meeting with strangers through websites and taking excessive risks to explore some of these things that and then the guilt and shame associated with that was extreme. So no, I don't agree that it's not a moral issue. I think that it is very important, and I think with young people, we still want to teach principles and morals and have the communications open around what's happening and help them manage the risks associated with it. Yeah.
And I'd say that goes with any kind of behaviors that come in, especially in adolescence. We see the same thing with drinking and drug use. It's important to educate kids to help them be able to make the decisions for themselves. And, as parents, it's important that we instill values and morals. And, and that's where I want to be clear that we're not saying that religion shouldn't exist. That's part of your family culture, and it's okay to share that and to raise the child with that, but being able to give them the room to figure out what that's going to mean to them and how that's going to work for them, and making sense of these things so they do have someone there they can talk to as they are trying out new things or they are curious about things.
All right. Are we ready for news, Ms. Susan? Nope. Okay. Can you go through that one, or I can read this other one?
Yeah, I was trying to look up the report that they were talking about.
It was the Johns Hopkins 2016 report, Sexuality and Gender, Findings from the Biological, Psychological, and Social Sciences. It was talking that the social stress model does not seem to offer a complete explanation for the disparities in outcomes in terms of the health issues as they relate to sexual orientation and gender identity. Here's another online message. So are the panelists now suggesting that the sexual identity of my newborn should not be defined until later in life, despite what sex organs are physically present?
It's a good question. I know back in Canada there was one case, I think, the first case where it was a baby was born and they decided not to assign gender until the baby chose. And that was quite a controversial case. But it's it's an interesting question. I don't have the answer to that, but
yeah. And so America kind of jumped on the bandwagon with that as well. But America is actually now kind of backstepping. And if I'm trying desperately to find this report that the listener was referring to. Because I believe one of the major hospitals had started doing the sex reassignments, and I believe it was Johns Hopkins, and then actually stopped doing it, following some studies that they'd been through. But I know there was some cases as early as even 5. They were looking at doing sex reassignments because they thought that the kid was not identifying with their sex, with their biological sex, and so that's where. I think that it's important to still give guidance. At 5 years old, even at 16, 17, there's still so much going on that it's important to really support the kids through it. The biological sex is the sex, and generally that's what they list, at the hospital. All of us have masculine and feminine traits as well, and so I think it's really dangerous to put them into a box too early. So I think that a lot of, so this is my personal opinion, I think a lot of the U.S. has gone too far. I think we're jumping too much. Kids are still trying to figure things out. When they say I want to be a boy, that doesn't necessarily mean that they want to change their biological sex. It might mean that they want to drive trucks. And all of us have masculine and feminine traits, and I think that's really important to realize. I drive trucks and ride horses, and I'd rather be in the dirt than, I'm also a dancer. Yeah. So I have some feminine parts too, but, I drive big trucks and ride horses, and that's what I love to do. But, I think, so I probably wouldn't go with weeding to assign the sex, but gender, I would say it tends to be quite fluid until we know who we are.
Now, when we look at society, traditional, most of us say, well, male, female, let's say. Then when we start to hear about there's a third gender, and then there are these other things. Well, again, help us, Dr. One.
Yeah, so some cultures actually have a third gender. Colors Cayman is a great resource for anyone who wants to know more about this or is looking for support. It's run by Billy Bryan, who is fabulous and who is able to really provide a lot of support, access to other persons who are able to share about their journey and what they've been through and how they're making a life in Cayman as well. But other things that come up as far as gender is like non-binary gender, or I think you'd refer to like the demigender.
Yeah.
So persons who don't identify with male or female, or who identify otherwise, or who identify sometimes with one, sometimes with the other, and it tends to kind of vary. So.
No.
And cisgender means that your gender matches your sex, because that's another one that comes up.
Yeah.
Someone came and told me they're cisgender, and I was like, well, and I will share as well, asking the person what they mean, especially the teens, that's how I've learned so much about it.
Yeah.
And it's when it's just words on a paper or what you see in the news, it's depending which news you want, it seems like it is something that should just be in the dark shadows, and other times it seems like it's everyone. But really there's so much that goes into it, and they still are a person. That's still your son, that's still your daughter. This is one part of what's going on as well. So talk to them and they'll tell you. And there's other terms as well, I'm sure, that we don't know.
Well, I was going to share that there are many of us who, if we're genuinely interested in the child's well-being, and, positive, productive, healthy development, whatever that is, just as we take interest in their academics, their sports, that maybe we're their coaches, their teachers, their parents, having conversations with them. If I might, share with you during the break some of the conversations I had with them, you tell me whether it's appropriate, because there are questions, and the more that we know, the better able we are to help them.
Yep.
And thank you for this opportunity. So we can go for news, but
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Can I
go for it.
point one more thing?
Yes. We had to wait.
Sorry. Yeah, well, just the non-judgmental part is important. We've talked about this when we've talked about suicide, we've talked about mental health, we've talked about drug use, we've talked about sex. Same thing. Non-judgmental, be open, ask general questions, or even talk to them about their friends and who their friends are dating. And that can be an easy way to kind of get into it and open the door.
Exactly.
To learn where they're at.
All right, let's talk about that when we come back. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Over the past 5 days, police have received reports of 3 stolen vehicles, 2 of which were taken over the weekend. On Wednesday, July 4th, police responded to a report of a car that had been stolen from a location on Buttonwood Avenue in Georgetown. The car was a black Mazda Demio. It was discovered missing that same morning. Early Saturday morning, July 7th, officers responded to a report of a stolen silver 1999 Honda Civic hatchback, which was last seen parked off Safe Haven Drive in the vicinity of Westby Road. And then just before 12 p.m. on Saturday, July 7th, a report was received of a stolen blue 1996 Honda CR-V, which was last seen parked at Island Pines Villas on Westby Road. Call police if you have any details about the whereabouts of these vehicles. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. Boris Johnson has launched a scathing attack on Theresa May's Brexit strategy, saying the dream is dying, suffocated by needless self-doubt. In his letter resigning as Foreign Secretary, he claimed the Prime Minister was leading the UK into a semi-Brexit with the status of a colony. His resignation came hours after Brexit Secretary David Davis quit the cabinet. Divers have rescued 4 more boys from a vast cave system in northern Thailand on the second day of a complex operation. The Thai Navy SEALs leading the rescue operation have confirmed that 8 boys in total have been extracted. 4 boys and their football coach remain inside the caves. Rescuers will try to free them on Tuesday. And a motorist was distracted by his mobile phone when he ran over the mother of Olympic cyclist Chris Boardman, killing her, a jury has heard. 75-year-old Carol Boardman died after falling from her bicycle in July of 2016. Liam Rosny, 31, denies a charge of causing death by dangerous driving and causing death by careless driving. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Give me freedom, give me me fire.
Cave Bar and Lounge in Northside. Your home for all the World Cup action. Open daily from 10 a.m. with $70 bucket specials during all World Cup games and daily happy hour specials. Feel the passion, feel the fire, free the mind, and enjoy the game at the Cave Bar and Lounge, located on Frankstown Road in the Old Nico Norte.
When I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag. So wave your flag.
Cave Bar and Lounge.
Sometimes having a middleman is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to insurance. Do you know that when it comes to cost, ease, speed, and peace of mind, insurance brokers ranked higher than when customers buy direct? So, for all your insurance needs, call Fidelity Insurance. We're the middleman you want. Call us today at 949-7822. Fidelity. We're good for you.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Come back to Talk Today, 949-8037. Or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. With compliments of flow as we have our monthly Mental Health Matters. This month's discussion, sexual orientation and gender identity. Dr. Alexandra Borden, Mr. Jason Jones, thanks so much for coming on board and helping us have this discussion.
Welcome.
Dr. Borden, I think it's challenging for society and for parents in particular, and as their children go through their lives, irrespective, as we said outside, whatever that child is considering or doing or feeling, we need to be as supportive and as non-judgmental, but as informed and as nurturing and as guiding as we can. So we need to learn more about everything.
Yeah. I think when we don't understand something, it becomes more scary and more intimidating. And I think even things like the changing in the alphabets, I think that itself can make it uncomfortable. You know, even in having discussions with people who do strongly identify and are very comfortable having these conversations, it can be intimidating for anyone else, you know, to try to get into it if you're not sure of the right words to use. And so I think knowing that starting the conversation and being open to it and open to feedback as well. If it is something the kid is looking into or understands, then they'll be able to provide you information and kind of get you to where they are.
Is it then that we have two things that make it difficult? The homophobic nature of and maybe we can understand what that is, and then on the other hand, individual society, whether they're those advocating for equality and the like, who are, you know, getting this on the agenda, getting this in the public domain, and we've gotten this constant conflict as opposed to trying to find commonality and show respect. You know, who would want to be excluded and ostracized and marginalized because of their hairstyle or the color or their religion or their ethnicity or their, you know, well, you're a woman, so therefore you can't vote, work, or what have you. Nobody wants to be treated less than. Homophobia.
Right, so that's actually an older word. Homophobia technically means fear of gays, which is interesting because that's not what it equates to. So really, the prejudice against them is actually termed heterosexism, which is believing that heterosexuality is the correct way. And so, as we've talked about a lot of things, even like gender issues, is actually we equate to women's issues, right? So in saying it's heterosexism, it really is looking at kind of the predominance of the majority group identifies as heterosexual, and it's believing that those values are most important. But I think that and I would actually say a lot of prejudice that we see comes from a place of fear. So while homophobia is considered kind of an antiquated term, I think that when we don't understand something or something is different, it is scary. So I don't think it's completely wrong. But it's not a disorder, which phobia implies. So really it's kind of looking at not being prejudiced towards people who have a different either gender identity or sexual orientation. So, and a lot of that is going to be getting to know persons who have different, who identify with the LGBT population. And I think that opens the pathway for a lot, for each of us personally to kind of see how we feel about it. Because when you put, especially if someone becomes labeled as that, oh, well, that's the transgender person, or that's the gay person, or that's the gay guy in our group, then that they become a label, when really they're a person. And so when you know someone like that, it steps aside from the assumptions that we make. Same thing with meeting people of a different race or a different culture, and so if you assume that, oh, that person is from this place, so, that means X, Y, and Z. This person's Jamaican or Filipino or American or Canadian, and we put them in a box. Mm-hmm. We never actually get to know them, but as we know them, they become a person.
Now, cultural norms then, for instance, people who go against that norm, whatever that is, tend to be looked at differently, not always embraced and championed. You can imagine in the early days, the guy tinkering in the garage when everybody else there were planting in the fields. He wanted to invent something that could fly or go into space. Something must be wrong with that person. Maybe there's a sorcerer or some other things. Is that part of the challenge then? The cultural norms, the seemingly acceptance, silent acquiescence of certain things, or the religious overtones of that particular space?
Well, I'll talk about the social norms first. I was reminded of, I've met so many young kids that have amazing talents and creativity. Maybe someday they'll become like a world-renowned DJ like yourself. And
That's Joel.
But, a lot of times schools in a kind of a conservative setting will kind of beat that out of the kids, and they have to do math.
Sorry, schools generally.
Yeah, schools generally.
You don't see the circuit.
Well, I mean, there are some art schools out there and stuff, but I mean, generally schools will kind of focus on the math, the sciences, the English. It's not given as much value to the arts, to kinesiology, physical education, music, things like that. And generally, it's looked at, if you've got those skills, you have to really develop the other skills to make something of yourself. So it really bothers me when I see a young creative person and it's not being encouraged to explore. I actually commend people when they do something different with their hair, make it blue or green or pink or something. Shave it bald when they don't need to, or go out on a limb, right? Yeah. But I actually am at a place now where I commend that courage. I commend the courage, and I know that they want to be different. They want to be themselves. They want to be recognized as individuals. And, sometimes that kind of gets mixed in with all of this too, because they feel like they're not fitting in somewhere else. So, they try to fit in somewhere else. And, if they've been ostracized so much and put down so much, then when they find a group they can belong to, it's no wonder they fight for those rights.
Well, as we have this monthly discussion, I really want to again thank both of you, because it's a challenging discussion. Many people shy away from it because it's a small community and they assume the discourse means that this is the personal flavor and the like. Dr. Borden, Mr. Jones, thanks for joining us. Dr. Alexandra Gordon, Jason Jones. Now, sexual orientation and gender identity. It isn't an easy discussion, but it's one that many people are having, sometimes without proper tools, information, and sometimes without the proper context. You referenced earlier, Dr. Borden, in Cayman, there probably are some people who are living less than fulfilled lives because of fear. Some who may no longer live here. Their families and close friends may know, but they've said, you know what, I can't excel. I can't go and walk freely, not because of being tortured or fear of that, but they just can't live now. How do we get to a point of knowledge and respect?
Well, I think that's going to take each person making a decision to treat others with respect and kindness as well. And so I think this is where it does kind of require stepping outside of your comfort zone to decide how, you have your religious values, and how is that going to make sense if you are identify as LGBT, how can that work together? Or if someone that you love, is going through, and kind of connecting with one of these identities as well. And I think that it's something that each person has to kind of sort through. And a lot of times, when I talk to people about religion, I think it's important that, we make our own decisions and our own understanding of things. So coming to terms with, what that means for us and how we can understand it. And I think that one of the pastors that I actually was on a panel with recently, I think outlined it really nicely that that really it's not fair to pick one sin that's worse than others. I think for some reason this one has become seen as one of the biggest ones, that for some reason being gay is worse than lying, cheating, killing, all the other ones that are outlined, all the things that we're not supposed to do. When really a lot of people we know do this every day.
If I may, that's the thing.
I didn't mean to say that everyone is a sinner, but a lot of us, do things that
we are sinners.
We're not quite in line with where we're supposed to be. It's not fair to make one worse and to persecute one section of society because we don't like their sin.
Yeah, sin is sin, right?
Yeah.
Statistically, if I can ask, do we know, the reason why I'm asking, in that sometimes we hear, 10% of the population maybe, no, it's only 1%, no, it's actually 50%. If we look at, and I won't limit it to the U.S. media specifically, every show, whether it's a cooking show to the guy playing, the most dangerous of sports, doesn't matter what it is, every show has, a gay couple of, something of a sexual agenda in a sense. Is it that it's more people in the population that we care to know and accept? Do we have any statistics?
I'm trying to find the article that had it.
Yeah, I saw one that says 10%.
Yes.
That was what I was thinking.
But that was for
yeah.
sexual preference, I think, and didn't include gender, I believe.
Okay.
I think that's hard to pin down, actually, because how much it's kind of like self-report, right? So how much of a population is not reporting or identifying still, especially if you look at our population here. But I think that research stated there was about 10% of the population that identified as gay or lesbian or bisexual. That didn't include transgender. That wasn't studied at that point. But in terms of your representation in media and everything else, I think that everybody is trying to be part of the showing the different demographics, and like back in the day, it was someone from a different race. Having a person of Asian culture in the show, or something like this, and now it's just kind of an attempt to do that. To be politically correct, maybe, or whatever. But, even myself, I remember the first time on Days of Our Lives, when there was a gay couple there, it was quite difficult for me to watch that, and get my head around that. Even though I supported others, it was kind of like one of those reactions where it was, just my own values were kind of in conflict.
Can I ask two questions towards as we close up? Whether they're asked and answered or just left there for others. Are we able to choose our orientation? And then secondly, is there a point in our lives, children specifically, that you just know? And I'll come to that second one after the first one. But do we choose it? Or does it choose us? Any thoughts, if you wish?
Well, the studies are saying that we don't choose it.
Right.
That usually by the age of 5 to 8, maybe, that, it starts to become more clear in terms of gender and sexual preference. I think there may be some confusion or fear as they go along through their teenage years. Like, I know back home, it was much more socially acceptable for boys to say they were bisexual rather than gay. So they would come out first as bisexual, and then later, when it was more accepted, they come out as gay. So
culturally, that was the
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's a question that even still I'm not totally convinced. It comes down to nature versus nurture too, and we never really get a clear answer. But there's a lot of factors involved. But the studies say it's not a choice.
In our society. So the second question, I can't speak for other societies because I haven't lived there or raised up there for any length of time as compared here. But I'm told it's the same. From every friend that I have, from every walk of life, every different nationality, they say, growing up, there was always someone in their neighborhood, in their little circle. When they went to university or they lived other places, they looked at and you just knew. They just looked.
Mm-hmm.
So, is Dr. One?
Well, a lot of times, I think, a lot of times people can tell that there is something different. I think that's where we do end up with a lot of bullying, even especially if it's before that person recognizes it or understands what's going on. Other people pick up on it and will react to it. And then, of course, once bullying becomes a factor, then you end up with other difficulties as well, as far as like mental health or not having supportive peers.
I asked that specifically with his consent. Anybody watching football know. This is it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a guy. We were having a conversation, and he isn't by any shape, stretch of imagination, gay. But he's always thought, look, effeminate, less facial hair than the rest of us. He didn't physically mature like the rest of us, as early as the rest of us. And now, he's the cat's meow because, he doesn't have to worry about the green hair because, he has less of it, right? But there was a time when he said growing up, because he was effeminate, he had to put on that macho bravado. And if it wasn't out of supportive of a few of us, he probably would have been, because confirmation bias, I think, we treat him that way, and therefore he must think he is. Now, luckily, good parenting, good support. And I was thinking about that. Are we at risk in our societies for pushing people unnaturally into careers, into different things because, you must be, a strong, strapping man. You have to be a lumberjack.
It's more comfortable for us if people fit in the boxes we've
we
created.
Yes.
So that's where it comes from a place of fear, a place of, not knowing. It's more comfortable for us if everything goes as expected, which is where you get the difficulties, especially many of the things we talked about, even with mental health. If their mind works differently or they operate differently, it's uncomfortable for us and weird for us and hard to understand.
I guess in a sense, Jason, like schools, that child who's in the class who may prefer to stand up, and while the teacher's taking notes, is drawing stuff. Oh, you have some sort of disorder, you need medication, you're disruptive because you're not sitting strapped into your seat as if you're going through turbulence and into a nosedive or something. The child is standing there, one foot to the next. No, there has to be balance and respect and proper classroom, management. It's more comfortable for us to make sure that these people, whatever they are, fit into that box.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we put our values on other people, and I've worked really hard myself at not judging over the last 15 years, and I still do it. But I really work also hard at seek to understand first. Yeah. To seek to understand the person.
I think a lot of us judge. We just call it discerning. We're very, very particular.
And it is natural. It's human to judge.
Yes.
So there's always going to be some kind of reaction to it. It's what we do with it that's important.
Yes.
And I think that's important as well, that even if your initial gut reaction is, oh my gosh, it's going to be, okay, well, what does this mean and how does this work? Because it's not what we expected.
All right. Now, in closing, and I really appreciate both of you have come up, because it is a challenging topic, and to get people to start to discuss it now. We're not promoting, supporting. We just want us to be cognizant and respectful. Respectful, that's the main thing, right? How would we feel if someone treated us this way? Because, if I came in tomorrow and I had hair and it was blue, would they look at me and go, okay, he needs maids?
I dyed mine purple. Yeah, they look at you funny.
They do. And if your child does something like that and a parent consents to it, the parent does it, the other adults will say, okay, who's the parent, who's the child? But why not? Why not allow safely? So as parents then, as a society, are there any things you can tell us so that we can help manage, go through, develop, encourage, nurture, support, be respectful?
This is a really important topic for me personally as I work with young people and parents and families and, try to help a child develop in a healthy way. I try to encourage youth to be able to have their own choices, and I try to encourage parents to allow their kids to have their own choices. And you take the hair example, what better, easier way to offer a child a choice as to how they wear their hair? But sometimes we as parents take maybe a little bit too much ownership in how we're reflected as our child is reflected in society. The neighbors might think something, or what are you doing? How are you parenting? So sometimes we put a little bit too much ownership on that, and we keep the freedom from from our kids. I think it's so important. Like, why in the world would we want to tell others who they are or who they're attracted to? What does it matter, really? What does it matter? It's their choice. It's their life. And, wouldn't it be better to offer love, support, and kindness to that person than further hatred and judging and putting down and whatnot, especially if it was my child? Do I want to be a contributing factor for my child's unhappiness and potential suicide? Or do I want to love and embrace that child?
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. It's important to approach these conversations from a place of curiosity, genuineness. And it's okay to say you don't know what to say, or you're not sure what things mean. But just to approach it from a place of kindness, respect, and love, to be there for the child or the teen and help them figure out what it's going to mean for them as well. It's okay not to know. It's okay to ask for help. That's what we're here. There's government has the counseling center, which offers free counseling. This can be for the parent or the child. If someone just wants to come in and talk about things, we're open to that as well. Or if the child does want some professional support, or if you're not sure how to handle it, it's okay to get them someone to talk to help them figure out what this is going to mean for them and for their life.
I think as I listen to you, it's important for us as parents specifically to become as informed, as involved in every aspect of our child's life. We select, in initial days, the sports that we want to introduce them to, what musical instruments we want them to play, the schools, the subjects, even their friends. Let's not ignore any aspect, but let's do so lovingly, respectfully, and from a position. Hey, thanks very much, Dr. Borden.
All right, thank you as well. The articles we referred to will be on drbodden.com, as well as mine and Mr. Jason's contact information if anyone has any questions or wants to do some additional reading for themselves.
Well, this is important, and I look forward to next month's discussion as we go through this. And thanks. It's a lot of work, Jason. I appreciate you coming on board.
No problem.
Especially at lunchtime.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to pause and take a break. When we come back, we're going to have something in store for our listeners. We got a chance last week to talk to the Miss Teen contestants. Well, when we come back, the Miss Cayman contestants. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Nursing, education, social work, media studies, hospitality, electrical, plumbing, AC. Wow, I didn't even know that the University College of the Cayman Islands offered all that.
Yes, all that and more, as well as event management and QuickBooks. They also did customized training for our staff last month. Hey, didn't your son just graduate from high school? Take him so he can apply for the fall semester.
Pursue your academic and professional goals at UCCI. Admissions are ongoing. Classes start August 27th. Visit them or call 623-8224 to learn more.
We are now in the hurricane season, and to survive a hurricane, you need to be informed. If you have been informed by official sources that a hurricane is approaching the Cayman Islands, and you live in a low-lying area that is prone to flooding or near the beaches, which may be swept by high tides or storm waves, please seek a safe place and high ground. If the only way for you to get to a safe place is a road that is also likely to be flooded during a storm, please leave home early. Don't run the risk of being stranded. This has been a public service announcement from your community station, Radio Cayman.
Optical Outlook is so wicked.
They're brilliant. Tremendous.
So hot. They're awesome. Yo, them cool.
They're sweet.
Just ice, mate.
I love them like cooked food.
Head to Optical Outlook and find many designer brands for men and women. Sun safety and eye health care never look so good. They'll be able to help you find the best fit for your face and budget. Call 746-2020 and book your eye exam today. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook and make sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram.
Don't forget to tune in every Monday through Friday for the 7 a.m. news, brought to you by Cayman National Bank, proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
Talk today. but I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you so much for joining me. And if any of you complain about why I should get paid for this job, I can understand why. Conversation prior to this one to be able to learn how to be a better parent, and now this discussion to see why Cayman is such a great place. Well, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have come to work today.
You know what? I'm actually happy that you did, because then would we still be able to come on?
Oh, of course, and the show must go on, you know. Susan says there's two things you can cut on. Talk Today and a Cayman Bracker.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. As we go through the table, I recognize almost all of our contestants, but I'm going to ask them to. But I ask you to set the stage because, you know, when Anita told me I have to do this, I'm thinking, okay, am I worthy? Am I worthy? Every year I don't think so. This year even more so.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for having us on today. This is Latrice Haylock. I'm the acting deputy director of the Miss Cayman Islands pageant, and today we have our amazing contestants that we have here that will be on the stage at the Westin on August 11th. So I will go ahead and let them introduce themselves and let you learn a little bit more about them.
Thanks, Latrice.
Hi, everyone. My name is Josani Schneider. I am contestant number 5 from West Bay.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Douglas, contestant number 3 from Georgetown.
Hi, everyone. I'm hoping that you're having a wonderful day. My name is Kaylin Jackson. I'm contestant number 1, and I'm from Savannah, Bordentown.
Good afternoon. My name is Caitlin Tyson. I'm 24 years old from the District of Bordentown, and I'm sponsored by Kirk Freeport.
Hi, good afternoon, Cayman. My name is Natisha Foster. I am 26 years old, and I am representing the beautiful district of Georgetown and proudly sponsored by Edie's Decor.
Good afternoon, Cayman. This is Tiffany Connolly from the District of West Bay, and I am your contestant number 6.
You know, I feel that this country is in excellent hands. I mean, they say, you know, that's always the women that run things with the trees. We can see, you know, from the poise, the grace, the intellect, that the future is indeed bright. Right, Miss Caitlin?
Thank you.
But Latrice, as we go through, I mean, the pageant is only 2 months away, thereabouts, right?
Yes, definitely.
Well, yeah.
And you know, all these girls, I think they're ready. You know, I really do think they're ready. They've been in runway training, fitness training, etiquette, stage presence. So, you know, we have a great team within the committee and volunteers who have come on board to, you know, assist in getting these girls just ready for August 11th.
Now, if I could, as we go through, Miss Connolly?
Yes, sir.
I'll start with you. Ask each of you, you know, we see every year, and I'm genuine, I'm honored to be able, whether it's the Miss Teen or the Miss Cayman contestants, so even in the you know, junior pageants that we have. Ladies who come through the studio and confidence, conviction, there's a passion, but there's always something that sparks them to want to get involved. And someone would say, listen, you know, my mama can't pay for the school, I'm looking for a scholarship.
Yeah.
Some say, I want this travel. It reminds me that that's ambition. They see a means in a way, and they recognize that it's going to be an incredible sacrifice. For you, Ms. Connolly, what was it that, you know, put you in? And Ms. Foster, let me go around to Ms. Tyson, each one. What made you want to be a contestant? Because you were literally on stage.
Yes, so like you said, the scholarship is a big part for me, but for me that's part 1 of the reason. I have a part 2, and that's to complete studying art therapy so that I can come back here on island and open an art therapy school to help people who suffer with depression or other mental disorders.
Okay. Ms. Foster, what made you want to be it?
I always wanted to be in the pageant. I wanted to improve on my leadership skills, my presentation skills, also my communication skills. And not only does being in the pageant is good for an individual, but it gives you the opportunity to bring awareness to great cause such as the Alzheimer and the dementia. And also it's very important to me to reach out to young people to remind them that you are beautiful just the way you are. It doesn't matter your skin tone, the length of your hair, the size of you. We are all beautifully and wonderfully made. So I just wanted to remind young people about that.
Right. Stacey?
Well, for me, similar to Natisha, I've always wanted to enter. And I just think it's really important for women to feel empowered to use their voices and go out and make a difference in the world. I'm always one to advocate for self-love and empowerment and promoting a healthy lifestyle, mind, body, and spirit. And I think the Miss Cayman Islands Universe pageant gives us a great platform to do so. I've been working as an actress in New York for the past 2 years, and I've been investing in this industry abroad, and I just want to invest back home and be able to touch more lives here and affect more change. So really that's one of the reasons, and I think it's so great because the pageant gives young girls the opportunity to have positive role models in their fellow women, which is so important. And then we bring light to such important causes and organizations that support us.
Indeed. Ms. Jackson?
Okay, well, I've never done pageants and I was never a pageant girl. However, my mom saw the potential in me. And while going through this journey and this process, I'm slowly seeing the potential in myself also. The grand prize is honestly an amazing prize for me, as my goal is to go over to Manchester, where I was accepted by the University of Manchester, to fulfill my dream as becoming a professor of English literature. So I want to come back and I want to touch the young minds of Cayman, and I'm a strong advocate for the youth. I believe that the youth are so important, and because they are the future of Cayman. And when choosing my career path, I thought about the youth. I want to be a good influence on the youth. I want to give a good impact on our youth. And I also want a lot of young women, young ladies, young girls, even young boys to find the potential in themselves and love themselves and care for themselves more. So I believe that this pageant is a strong foundation for pretty much bringing your what you want to bring to change, like your platform. And yeah.
Okay, thanks. Ms. Douglas?
Well, I entered this pageant to, one, build my self-confidence, and also to build my platform as an individual, also as a contestant, of course. The scholarship was also the biggest drive to enter the pageant, to be honest. I'm currently studying accounting, so to go overseas and study accounting and to come back and invest in a company here, that would be great. I also think it's a way to have a voice, as I strongly believe suicidal tendencies is not as acknowledged as it should be, because, you know, as we were all discussing the other day, people always, check up for their physical health, but hardly for their mental health. And it's so very important to be mentally healthy, because sometimes your mental health is what makes you feel like you're physically not healthy. Because I've honestly been through that, where I think I'm sick, but I'm not. So my leg starts to hurt everywhere. Yeah. But it's just because I mentally think I'm sick. And also, I'd say I want to be able to be a good role model for individuals in Grand Cayman and also internationally, and to just spread positive attitude across the world and positive way of going about life. And as I said, mainly raise awareness for suicidal tendencies.
It's important to get to the platforms, but we can't,
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Josani speaking. So one of the main reasons why I chose to do Miss Cayman this year was because I wanted to take the opportunity to become a role model, not only for the young women in our society and globally, but also for the young men. Cayman has been so gracious to me and provided me with so many opportunities, and I almost feel like it's my responsibility to give back and to be an example to our youth and to show them that, anything that you put your mind to is possible. It just takes hard work and determination. And like the girl said, everyone has their little reasons and what they would like to do should they win the pageant. As you guys heard, our platform currently is the Alzheimer's and Dementia Association. So currently we will be raising awareness for that association, which is a phenomenal cause, and, you know, our goal is to help break the stigma around this condition and bring awareness and educate our community about it so that we can discuss these things, we can find solutions, and just help everyone in our community who is suffering from the condition of Alzheimer's and dementia and their families, and create an environment so that it can be openly discussed and no one feels discriminated against, no one feels disenfranchised. And like the girl said, you know, should I win Miss Cayman, one of my main goals would be to help raise awareness for the lack of structure and enforcement that we have for students with learning disabilities, specifically not autism, specifically for oh my goodness.
Hey, listen, you know, we're going to have some
my
good...
nerves.
Yeah. Well, you think, you never check me out. I'm looking around thinking, am I worthy? Well, Miss Patricia, when we come back from the break, let's share some more, and we have an opportunity to, you know, perhaps not just extend an invitation, because August 11th isn't that far away. You know, honestly, the scholarship was part of the reason I wanted to get involved in Miss Cayman, but apparently I didn't qualify. I thought it was just, you know, it is the looks and the height. It's just I didn't have it. All right, when we come back, more talk today.
The Cayman Contractors Association would like to urge all contractors to register for the Builders Law by completing the application process. The application is online at www.planning.gov.ky, or the form can be collected from the Planning Department. Do not miss the July 31st deadline and be unable to pull a permit for your job. Ensure your company is licensed, as the public wants to hire licensed contractors. Join the Cayman Contractors Association and stay current on code courses, training, and industry news. The Cayman Contractors Association, building a better Cayman.
Give me freedom, give me fire.
Cave Bar and Lounge in Northside, your home for all the World Cup action. Open daily from 10 a.m. with $70 bucket specials during all World Cup games and daily happy hour specials. Feel the passion, feel the fire, free the mind, and enjoy the game at the Cave Bar and Lounge, located on Frankstown Road in the Old Nico Norte.
When I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag. So wave your flag.
Cave Bar and Lounge.
We're building resilience one pipeline at a time. For the past 35 years, the Water Authority has been working to build a reliable piped water distribution network to better serve you in both fair and stormy weather. Visit our website or follow us on social media for useful hurricane preparedness tips and important updates in the case of an extreme weather event. This hurricane preparedness tip is brought to you by Water Authority Cayman, suppliers of the world's most popular drink.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's new kitchen and bath center.
The time is now. The speed is here. March to the beat of the mobile revolution with Flow 4G LTE and a prepaid mobile combo plan. Activate a Flow prepaid mobile combo plan to get calling minutes and data in one convenient package, and every plan comes with double data. Enjoy the proven best overall experience in Cayman with a Flow prepaid mobile combo plan. Now with double data, coverage, value, speed. Flow 4G LTE. Always connected, always faster. Visit discoverflow.ky. Terms and conditions apply.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us here and talk today. And I'll say this sincerely, I'm really grateful for this platform that I have here. I don't wear a sash and I don't get a crown. And think of it, Miss Susan, we don't get a wardrobe either. We need to work on that. Yeah. Just thinking about it. Ms. Latrice, thank you so much, seriously, for allowing us to not just talk about the pageant and to preview, but to remind our society that we have incredibly talented, passionate women. And I say this, we harken back quickly to those days of the Iron Men, on those wooden ships, and we talk about the women, that were left behind. How many of us go into town and stop into Celebration Park and look at the statues, and that one in particular, to understand it? With great respect to just the six of you here, you embody some great spirit and enthusiasm. Hopefully it will encourage, I think as you said, as well, the notion that it's not just the young ladies, but the young gents as well.
Mm-hmm.
The pageant, Mr. Treese, what does that do for our community and for these ladies?
The pageant has a lot to do with our community because, this is a unique program. So not only, like I said, is it a pageant, but it's a program where these women get themselves a schedule. All right, so their life becomes Miss Cayman Islands. So on top of their daytime job, they also have this other schedule that they have to be a part of, right? Mm-hmm. And that includes training, it includes networking, and, presenting themselves through the media and as well as, in life in general. And so other than the event itself, which is the pageant, the training aspect for the young ladies, then there's the sponsorship aspect, which goes into marketing and branding. And again, the pageant itself needs sponsors and branding as well. So it's a large scale, I don't even know what to call it because it's so much more than just a pageant. It has so many layers. It's like an onion. So when you peel back, you see, yeah, exactly. A lot of people only know of the event, but they don't know the hard work and stress that these women go into leading up to that, with finding a sponsor, with, losing weight or gaining weight, and, the emotions that goes behind it, and the committee and the team that is involved to assist them in this journey.
If the contestants would be mindful, and certainly I say this respectfully, anything I ask to say you don't like, you just call me on it, right? Because I do not want to anyway offend and insult and embarrass. That's not my style. Unless you're politicians, that's a different story. But just kidding. Could we ask it? Because many of us do not honestly appreciate what it takes to be in a pageant. For those of us who are on the periphery, who have friends and family involved, we see the scheduling, the routine, and that's on top of, as Mr. Tree said, your regular life. Would you be mindful to give us a preview, Ms. Snyder?
Sure. So, like you guys have heard, our schedules have amped up tremendously. This weekend alone would be a prime example. We have been on the go from Friday, and we will be on the go straight up until tomorrow with a little break.
To watch the World Cup? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, to watch the World Cup. But with a little break on Wednesday and Thursday. And I say a little break because, yes, we don't have anything scheduled specifically, like events-wise, but we still have our personal prep. We still have personal training, workouts, meal preps, and then our day-to-day lives as well. So it really is teaching a lot of us to time management skills and fine-tuning those time management skills. So it really has been a learning process.
And the committee is so supportive with that, keeping us on top of everything. We have weekly meetings with Toastmasters to work on our speech. We have personal trainers. We have runway training. We have a lot of things that we have to go to. But then, like Jasani is saying, it's also about managing yourself, managing your social media. We've had workshops on workshops to get us prepared, and managing your public persona, which for a lot of us is a really new thing. Putting yourself out there can be very vulnerable. So we deal with a lot of ups and downs, but at the end of the day, we kind of keep each other strong. We have our WhatsApp group. We talk to each other. And just like to build our confidence. And I love the photo shoots. We all love the photo shoots. And the video shoots, that's the best.
I think pageantry is not only just the one night or even just the time from orientation day to the night. Pageantry is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So when you enter a pageant, not only do you have to change things about you, like changing things that you would normally say, you have to think about, I can't be controversial, I have to kind of be neutral in so many situations, and you also have to just carry yourself in such a different way, because once you put yourself in that spotlight, coming out of it is so hard, and you have little girls and little boys everywhere looking up to you.
Yeah.
There's people all around the world, I don't know, some people online usually, because of that's the type of platform and world that we live in now, can access us so much easier. It's not like a pigeon taking a message across the world.
Hey, talk to my pigeons, man.
So yeah, I think you just have to always, you learn how to speak, and that's something Caitlin mentioned. The Toastmasters are fabulous.
Amazing.
Because that's going to go on with us for the rest of our lives.
I think that's the thing, as you shared this training, the sort of skill sets that you develop and that you hone, gives you preparation for life.
Yeah.
If you wish, we're seeing pageants evolve. We're seeing the potential to influence the agenda, political statements, whether it's in football or in pageants. We're seeing increasingly. We're seeing moves to do certain things. So we have a couple of questions off here that came in. We'll pose to you during the next break, just to give you a chance to. But what do you think about it, of the nature of using pageantry to create cultural awareness, societal influences, political statements even? For instance, we've seen swimsuits now being removed. I think it was in the Miss US. Yeah. I mean, I would be glad not to see me in a swimsuit, but that's another story. And the takers.
Well, on
Alright.
that topic of the swimsuit, I think that's a very controversial topic for some. We have not taken the swimsuit segment out of our pageant simply because we are a franchise of Miss Universe, and Miss Universe is keeping the swimsuit segment in their overall pageant, so we still have that. But on that note, I think the swimsuit segment of the pageant is very important, and not because you're parading around in a swimsuit. It goes deeper than that. When you are in your swimsuit, you are portraying your body, and your body is what carries you. It's what makes you you. And to me, I think the swimsuit segment promotes a healthy lifestyle. It promotes healthy eating, fitness, and self-love and self-confidence. And I think all of those things are very, very important, because if you don't take care of your body, what will you have?
If you don't love yourself, who will love you, right?
Exactly.
And I think once you put yourself into the public sphere in this arena, you have to be involved with your community. And what we're really going for is to become an ambassador for the Cayman Islands. When you hold that title of Miss Cayman Islands, that means a lot. You have a voice, you have a platform to reach a lot of different people. You represent your entire island, and to go away internationally and represent and set the Cayman Islands apart from every other place in the world due to our poise and our kindness, our Cayman kind, that's a huge responsibility. But I know Vanessa is going to say something.
I was just saying that I think, it's kind of diminishing the whole pageant tradition thing, because, you have the swimsuit section, you have the casual wear, and you have the evening gown. So I think taking that part out is kind of defeating the whole point of a pageant, because as Josani says, it does promote a healthy lifestyle, and also gives you a chance to show off your figure. And I personally think being in a swimsuit takes a lot of confidence, because you're showing your body. And I think some people do think that, well, if you're not a size 1, then you can't wear a swimsuit, which I strongly disagree with, because you can be a size 5 or a size 7 and you're still fit. I always use Anika Connolly as a perfect example, because people would always think, oh, you can't be thick and win a pageant. And she's pretty thick and she's fit. So I think when she won Miss Cayman Islands, I think that set a different bar for pageants overall. And
especially here being so inclusive, because as Caymanians, we come in all different shapes and sizes and colors and textures. So to have everyone be able to go on stage and to come out feeling like a winner, it's such a positive impact that this pageant has on our island, I think, in our community.
I kind of have a different take on that, actually. I kind of understand why they take out the swimsuit wear, because not a lot of people feel confident enough, or, I mean, you should feel confident in your body, but because you're not in a bathing suit, it doesn't mean that you're not beautiful. People already look at pageantry as pretty vacant, which it is not. And what the reason for that, they want to judge the contestant based on what they know, their education, and I think that everybody should, you can just wear whatever you want, and not only that, you won't be judged on the gowns either, because everybody have a personal taste, and that's my take on that.
All right.
Well, I think that's also true, that we should always think of beauty is on the inside and is our intelligence and all of those things. But as you did say, being confident doesn't mean that you have to wear a swimsuit. But being confident enough to wear anything is where it comes in. So I think pageants, a lot of time people think it's about the hair and the makeup and the walk. I only just started thinking about it that way. I always thought pageants was a sisterhood. I was in pageants from I was like 6 years old. So having to put my feet in the T position and having the posture and the string is pulling you from this thin air and you're standing up tall is just always, I thought it was about your outward look. It's about how you carry yourself, and that carried along with me into interviews, and that was something that I really did appreciate.
All right, when we come back from the break, we can continue this. Can we also talk about, because it's obvious there's the intellect. Many of us, see pageants, see the physical beauty and stuff.
Yeah.
I love the intellect of the contestants, always. Let's get into that. All right, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
The 83-year-old Georgetown man arrested last week in the attack of an elderly woman he knew has been charged with attempted murder. Police say the incident on July 4th in Tropical Gardens left the woman with multiple lacerations and hospitalized in critical condition. The suspect appeared in summary court today on the charge of attempted murder, and the matter has now been elevated to Grand Court. He was remanded into custody. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. A couple who lost their home to a wildfire in California shared a special moment when the husband found his wife's wedding rings among the ashes. They had returned in hopes of finding the rings, and when Ishu Rao discovered them, he got down on one knee and asked his wife Laura to marry him again. Their home in Santa Barbara County was one of 13 destroyed by the holiday fire this weekend. The blaze has been 85% contained as of this morning. Prince Louis has been christened in a private ceremony without the Queen and Duke of Edinburgh attending. Buckingham Palace said the decision was taken by the Queen and the Duke and the Duchess of Cambridge some time ago, and it's not due to health reasons. The 11-week-old was baptized by the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Most Reverend Justin Welby. And babies given solid food plus breast milk from 3 months sleep better than those who are solely breastfed. That's according to a new study. Official advice is to breastfeed exclusively for the first 6 months of life. Experts say women should still heed this recommendation, although it is under review. In the study in JAMA Pediatrics, giving solids earlier than 6 months had benefits for mom and the baby. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music, and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us. And as we have an opportunity to not just extend an invitation, but to remind us why we can be involved in supporting not just the platform of Miss Cayman, but Miss Cayman generally. Miss Latrice, I believe every year when the Miss Cayman rolls around and we go, it's not just a full house because we know the contestants. It's because we understand what it means and what it embodies and what it potential it has for the country, but for the contestants specifically, the training. Now, give us a quick preview of that night.
Wow. So, first of all, I just want to let the community know, and some may have already known, but this year the pageant's going to be taking place at the Westin. So, obviously, a capacity limit, right? So we can only fit 500 people in this year. So once the tickets are sold out, they're sold out. All right. So that's just first and foremost. So we know that we're definitely going to have a full house, Sterling. We know this. We know this.
Yeah, I know that will be the case. So get your tickets as soon as they become available, right?
And tickets will be going on sale this Friday at Sand Angels and Funky Tanks. They're only $75. All right. So I just want to repeat that again, ladies and gentlemen. $75. Limited seating capacity, so get your tickets early.
All right. Could I ask you, what fascinates me probably the most about Miss Cayman specifically, and even last week when I got a chance to chat with the Miss Teen contestants, you can see their poise and they're starting to think about the educational aspect of it. You become ambassadors. You influence the local agenda. But the intellect of the contestants, that educational drive, and the varied part. Now, who wants to jump in first? Because I want to get into some of that stuff.
I think that's one of the most important parts of it. I think you have to have an opinion. That's one of the things that I thought wasn't at the top of the list, that you want to be, obviously you don't want to step on anyone's toes. You want to be inclusive. You want to represent everyone. But that's where the intellect comes in, because you have to be able to form your own opinions. You have to be kept up to date on what's going on in the world, what's going on in your country, what's affecting the youth, what's affecting people who are older, and what are they going through right now. So that's one of the biggest things. And also what comes with that is the confidence, because when you know what you're talking about, you're much more confident in speaking on it.
I think, like Caitlin said, not stepping on anyone's toes is a big part of it, as well as I think when you are educated enough in anything, you are able to make a change. You're able to have an opinion about it, but also have ideas on how to go forward or make new things regarding that. Just like we were talking about education, we in the Cayman Islands have always been talking about, we need to have different changes in our education system, especially in our high school, because our standards here, when they're applied abroad, we see that we need to have a change, but no one's taking the time to talk about what that change should be. And I think that's something that, as a Miss Cayman contestant and possibly a Miss Cayman winner, you will have that chance to be an ambassador, to speak out and to compare your island to the other places in the world.
Because if you're not really posing a solution, then you're just complaining about the problem. So what it's really about is like coming together and seeing, how can we make a solution? What's the next step?
Definitely. And I think something that's very important also, you have to be able to stand for something, because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So I think that's very important as for being a Miss Cayman Islands contestant as well, because you have to represent your country well and kind of let the people know what you're about and what you are here for and what you want to represent and what you want to bring to the table. So that's definitely something.
Definitely. Ms. Jackson?
Picking up on what Caitlin and Tiff said, a lot of people do think that with pageants, it's just about the glitz and glams about it. When you're actually in it and you're going through it, you kind of get the sense that it actually isn't. Like I said, being in pageantry creates a good foundation for your platform, not only the platform that's given to you to bring awareness for, but what you feel passionate about also. So one of my biggest passions would be the education system in Cayman. And I, like what Tiffany said, a lot of people talk about it and we say we need this to change, we need that to change, when there isn't really much change, And I feel like with being with growing into being a good ambassador for your country, and not even if you aren't given the crown of Miss Cayman Islands, you should still continue now that you're a public figure and everyone knows you. You should still continue to bring awareness and spread awareness on these important issues happening within our country.
As they all say, it's not all about the glitz and glamour. It's basically beauty and brains. So, you have to keep up with public affairs, not only locally but internationally. And like they said, you have to stand for something. Because if you don't, then anything that's thrown at you, if you don't have a strong mind frame, you'll say, okay, yeah, I'll go along with that. And if somebody else says something else, you say, yeah, I'll go along with that. You have to have a strong opinion to say, well, this is what I want to bring forward and this is what I want to change. And you can't just say you want to change it and then not come forward with, the possible stuff to do to change that situation. Because I wouldn't only say in Cayman, but globally, there's a lot of things that countries want to change, but they never come forward with proper solutions. As I always think, you shouldn't try to change what is happening, but try to work with what is happening to change it. Because in some situations, it's hard to just change it like that. For example, with youths, you can't just expect them to change just like that. You have to work with their likes and dislikes in order to come to say, okay, well, maybe if they can work this way, then we can work with that to change them. Or say, for example, the media. The media is a very strong way to get through to youth. So you could use the media to get through to them to say, okay, well, this is what needs to be done. Or this is the lifestyle that is the best road for you to go down. Little stuff like that, I think, is very important.
Right. Now, we started with that. When you look at as sort of, forgive me if you, but this cohort, you build lasting friendships, you create a platform.
Yes.
You link with others and then maybe create a network. You become a voice now, whether you Miss Cayman or not. From here, it could be the next premier, the next deputy governor. The country could be independent. It could be the next governor. We don't know what we have here. You got, hey, there we go. He's inciting them, yes. But you create a voice. You develop something.
And, in addition to what they were saying, having the opportunity and the position to create a change, in addition to that, I almost think we have an advantage that no one else has by being a Miss Cayman contestant and whoever goes on to win Miss Cayman, because you have the opportunity to truly highlight and represent your country for what it is. You get to highlight your cultural values and the importance that our history has played in our position in the Cayman that we know today. You get to highlight Cayman for what it truly is. Obviously, tourism and the financial sector is what drives Cayman. So you have the opportunity to really highlight the fact that we have an indispensable position in the global capital markets, the importance that our culture, our maritime culture has played in the position that we have today and in the Cayman that we know today. And you really have the opportunity to just portray what it is to be Cayman kind, because you can completely come out of left field and spring something on someone. They're not even expecting it because they're looking at you and they're only expecting one thing, and you can highlight a topic on them and completely grab their attention because they're not expecting it. You're a woman and you're quote unquote a beauty queen, so they're not expecting the intellect, they're not expecting the depth, they're not expecting the knowledge. So I think we have a very good advantage in the position that we're in, because one, we can make an influence and be the positive change, and two, we can truly highlight what it is to be Caymanian and what Cayman is really all about.
Well, Jasani, I think to highlight our history and our culture, we have to educate our youth about our history and our culture, because there's so many kids who don't know how to thatch rope. There's so many kids who don't even know that we used to thatch rope and things that are simple like that. I think we really need to bring Cayman's culture back to Cayman. Absolutely. Because the tourists come here and they love it. They're in love with our culture and who we are and our humility and our hospitality. All of these things they care about so much, and it's slowly being lost.
Could I ask you guys after the break, again we can discuss, if you're comfortable. Only because, personally, I'm starting to become increasingly concerned about the lack of unity in our country. We're talking about, I think the last count was 1 billion different nationalities here, and I'm not sure what the number was now. So we got all people, we have, with the great respect to everywhere in the world, I think we have the best place in the world. People live to get along. You go to an office now and everybody's cheering for a different team, but it's not vitriolic. It's just good competitive.
They're still
right?
going to lunch together.
Exactly. So with the unity, can we do something about it? Is that being ignored? Are we at risk of losing our social fabric because of maybe the growing population, the growing pace of development, whatever it is? We've all gone to school and our friends were our friends.
Yeah.
We only knew they were different because, well, no big deal.
Mama.
Could we talk about that, Miss Caitlin? Everybody
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Because I want to build unity. There's strength in numbers, right, Miss?
Definitely.
All right. That's going to be the topic. You see the intellect? Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Sometimes having a middleman is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to insurance. Do you know that when it comes to cost, ease, speed, and peace of mind, insurance brokers ranked higher than when customers buy direct? So, for all your insurance needs, call Fidelity Insurance. We're the middleman you want. Call us today at 949-7822. Fidelity. We're good for you.
King Sports Center's Art of Fun Summer Camp is back from July 3rd to August 3rd. Now in its 14th year, the Art of Fun Camp is ideal for kids aged 5 through 10 with activities from football, basketball, dodgeball, squash, rock climbing, arts and craft, dance, singing, and more. Your child can stay cool while having fun in a safe and secure environment. For more info, email kings.brebanks@gmail.com. That's kings.brebanks@gmail.com. Or call 946-KING, like King's Sports Center on Facebook, and you can also find them on Instagram, or call 946-5464. King's Sports Center, providing you with all your fitness, recreation, and relaxation needs.
Kia Soul passes it to Kia Sportage. Sportage makes a stylish move over to the sleek Optima. Optima then flicks it across to the 7-seat Sorrento. Sorrento heads it. Goal! Kia!
It's time to score with the entire 2018 Kia lineup at GT Motors. Get up to $3,000 cash back. The first 50 customers will score a World Cup replica football and mascot. Hurry, it's the best thing that's happened to car buyers all year. The 2018 Kia clearance sale, only at GT Motors on Godfrey Nixon Way. Kia, driving football fever.
Nursing, education, social work, media studies, hospitality, electrical, plumbing, AC. Wow, I didn't even know that the University College of the Cayman Islands offered all that.
Yes, all that and more, as well as event management and QuickBooks. They also did customized training for our staff last month. Hey, didn't your son just graduate from high school? Take him so he can apply for the fall semester.
Pursue your academic and professional goals at UCCI. Admissions are ongoing. Classes start August 27th. Visit them or call 623-8224 to learn more.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Yes, I'm having fun, but I always have fun. You say you love what you do it with love, be respectful. Hey, who knows, it may come back to you. Honestly, I was looking forward to the next competition. If I can call that Miss Cayman, right? August 11th.
August 11th at the Westin.
Be one of 500. Tickets are only $75 on sale, right?
Yes, that is right. That is right. And we're so excited to start sales because once we know that the tickets are gone, we know that, you know, those seats are going to be filled. And I think that that's the most exciting part about this journey is that, you know, they get to practice so hard just to get onto this stage, and one of these amazing girls will be crowned our new Miss Cayman Islands. And ladies and gentlemen, that's why we're here today, you know, just so that you can hear a little bit more from them, because some of you may not get to interact with them, and your only interaction may just be on the night of the pageant. But I do want to, if possible, if I can, for them to just, you know, just say their Instagram handles, just so where people can follow you and follow your journey. And I do want to also say that we have our website that you should visit to learn a little bit more about these girls, read their bios, which is MissUniverseCayman.com. And very shortly, what we will be doing as well is the People's Choice Award, which is also a very, very, I'd say, very popular part of the competition, because you will just have 2 photos from these girls, and you will click whether you like it. You know, you can like all of them. Just do that, all right? And at the end, we will be presenting one winner with the People's Choice Award, which is, like I said, very popular with this, and that is, I guess, supported by DMS Broadcasting. But I do want to thank Radio Cayman for having us there, having us here today. So yeah, there's so many great parts of this journey with these girls, and I just want to say good luck when it comes. You guys are doing a fantastic job, and I'm fortunate enough to see the entire process, try to get some behind the scenes photos and videos of these girls while they're in action, because it's not easy being out in, I guess, 90-degree sun with a full face of makeup, looking perfect to get that one shot. That there is a little bit of skill that comes with that,
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right, we certainly want to get people, because that social media thing, is important for younger folks.
So on that, you guys want to tell people how to find you, how to contact you on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure. I'm Tiffany Connolly. My Instagram is tiff_Leanne. So that's LEANN. My Facebook name is Tiffany Connolly, and that's CONOLLY.
Hi, Cayman. My name is Natisha Foster. My Instagram name is Natisha, NATEIF. That's my Instagram. For my Facebook, you can like my Miss Cayman Islands Universe Facebook page, which is Natisha, NATEISHA Foster, for Miss Cayman Islands Universe 2018.
Hi, and this is Caitlin Tyson. You can go to my website, www.com. CaitlinTyson.com. And it's CAITLIN. My Instagram is Caitlin_Tyson, and my Facebook page is facebook.com/Caitlin Tyson.
And I am Kaylin Jackson. That's KEILEN. My Instagram is Kaylin Ariana with 2 N's, and my Facebook is Kaylin Jackson.
Hello, Vanessa here. My Instagram is Nessa's Pageant Journey. So that's NESSAS Pageant Journey. And my Facebook is, you can find me at Vanessa Douglas. That's Vanessa with 1 N and 2 S's.
This is Josani. My Facebook page, you can find me on Josani Schneider for MCIU 2018. Or on Instagram, you can type in the same thing, as well as my personal account, which is josani.schneider. So that's me.
And I'm on Instagram. No, that's good. No. Don't look for me there. We have a listener in Russia watching the World Cup, taking a break because there's no games today. Question from our listeners through social media.
Oh, wow.
I may be old, but still connected. So could we ask the contestants to kindly describe how they see Cayman in, say, 10 years or so, by which time they probably be, mothers or working full-time. What will be important to them, and what will Cayman have, and will Cayman have the ingredients that satisfy what is important to them?
That's a really good question. I think it's really going to be up to us. It's going to be up to Caymanians where we are in 10 years. It's going to be us driving ourselves forward and really pushing ourselves past our boundaries. We're very laid back, but we have so much power, so much talent here that just needs to be tapped into, and know that you can follow your dreams, you can follow your passion, and that's what I think is so important about this pageant, because we get the opportunity to inspire people to go out and do things. There's so many ways for us to make an impact or to get our voices heard, but in this way, we're up on stage, we're putting ourselves out there so that you can see it and then come back and know that, hey, I can do that too. So in 10 years, I see Cayman flourishing. I see our culture really being reinstated, because what it takes is us loving and valuing our culture to a certain degree that we won't allow anyone to undermine it. When we know who we are, then no one can tell us anything different.
That's so true. And I also think in 10 years, our age group right now is going to be the leaders.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be the young leaders of this island, because I'm starting to see, 345 mixtape. We have our youth taking charge.
Yeah.
We're seeing all of the billboards of our youth being adored and admired, and I think that's where it really starts. We have to start praising our youth when they do good, instead of always scolding them when they do wrong. It's fair that we have to correct them, but I think it's really about praising them, to say that you're doing a good job, keep doing that. And we have to encourage our youth to keep going forward in our music industries. Caitlin, with your acting, it's all of our youth. We really do have to just appreciate them, because that's going to be our future.
And they need to be rewarded. When you go away and you get a degree, the first thing you want to do is come back home and get to work. Yeah. We need to be able to put our youth in those positions and give them some experience, internships, something, so we're able to get that experience and make a change.
Yeah, definitely. As Caitlin said, it starts from us. It's up to us to see what Cayman would be in 10 years, but also you have those upcoming generations, which in high school and primary school, and I think where that starts from is the parents, is to engrave those Cayman traditions into those children, so that they can teach their upcoming generation, so we can keep the Cayman tradition as is. So because we have a lot of international people coming here, or immigrants, and I think it's very important for us as Caymanians to bring that into our upcoming generation.
As all the girls said, it's really, it's the entire Cayman that determines what Cayman is going to be like in 10 years. But I think it's mostly the youth, because we are the future of tomorrow. So, bringing back our full Caymanian culture is mostly important, because as we're basically we are a melting pot. So being able to share our culture with also international people who move here is very important to keep the Cayman culture here, because as I was reading the other day, most of Cayman's population is not even Caymanians. So it's important to teach our culture to other people, just to maintain the Cayman culture that we have here, and also, as Tiffany said, to ensure that our youths know our culture, because if the culture is not brought forward with them, it's basically going to leave, because we are the future of tomorrow, as I said.
Like all of the ladies said, 10 years from now is definitely in our hands. We are the youth right now. We are the future Cayman. We are Cayman. Previous youth before us, they held the future in their hands, and before them and their parents and their grandparents, everyone had an input into the development of our country. And hopefully 10 years from now, or even sooner, we will see our country fully developed, and definitely education system being brought to justice. And hopefully 10 years from now, I'll be back. I'll be a professor. I'm going to speak that into existence. I'll be here, and I'll be just shaping and molding and just having a good impact in the youth. And I just want to make an impact in our youth lives, as they mean so much. When we aren't the future anymore, they will be, and it'll be in their hands. And I just want to keep that pattern going, and everyone just, like you said, like Vanessa said, and everyone else, carrying our culture, keeping our culture alive. Because if they don't, it won't be our culture anymore. It'll be gone. And I want to see them more educated, definitely in schools, about Cayman culture, Thatch Open, our national heroes, how we survived back in the old days. Sit down and listen to our elders. I will sit down and listen to my grandmother speak about Cayman in the 40s, which is the year she was born. And it was so different back then. And to see how Cayman developed is just wonderful. It's beautiful and wonderful.
To add to what the girls are saying, I think it's quite evident to see that development is at an all-time high in Cayman, and it's only going to continue to develop. And on that note, I think it is very important for us to ensure that we are allowing the people of our community to not be left behind with the development. You know, we're saying that the youth are the future of tomorrow, but we have to ensure that we are putting the resources in place for them to take up those roles, because development is all well and good, but it can come at a cost. So I think it is very important for us to ensure that we are putting in the necessary foundations so that no one in our community is left behind, and that everyone gets to move forward and thrive on the development that we are currently seeing and that is to come.
Yeah. I think we definitely have to keep in mind that, like Kaylin was saying, the generation who's carrying our country right now left stepping stones for us.
Yeah,
and I think that's what people should always think about. Oftentimes we think, how is our generation going to be in the future? But by our generation leaving stepping stones for the future, for the kids that come after us, is what will make Cayman a better place. And also, like Jasani was saying, we have to implement an education system that will allow our Caymanians to qualify for the job standards that are set in Cayman. We can't constantly have our kids falling in between the cracks saying that this standard is good enough. We need to strive to have better and to have the best. When we have the best, we need to push forward and continue and go down the path that leads Cayman to being the best it can be.
Mr. Trees, again, thanks to you and to the committee. Yeah, every year you bring forward wonderful contestants. Those who are listening, it's August the 11th.
It is August 11th at the Westin. Like I said, tickets go on sale on Friday.
The 13th.
Yes. And you can get them at Sand Angels or at Funky Tangs. And you know what? You can also look for the Miss Cayman Islands Universe on Facebook. And if you want to send us a message there, we can see what we can do for you. Because I know that there are some people wondering, well, what are they going to do about group rates and all that stuff? So just get in touch with us, with the committee. We definitely don't want to give the extra work to the contestants of selling tickets. So we prefer if, the family members and so forth, just contact the committee if you prefer to, get your tickets from us rather than at any of the outlets. But yeah, we're excited, and I don't want to take any sort of responsibility. When I say not responsibility, what I mean to say is that these girls are who they are because of their Cayman and what they brought up. We just have the platform to help enhance that and to crown a winner, but to expose what the true embodiment of a Caymanian woman is, and each one of you are. It's just just too unfortunate. It's unfortunate that only one person will wear the crown. So.
Susan, behave. Huh? Hey, it's Monday. No, but I will behave tomorrow. Thank you, each of you, honestly. And if at any point, Mr. Trees, we can be of any continued value, let us know.
Yes, absolutely.
Congrats to each of you. Continue to excel, to shine. Let each step be in a forward direction, and don't let what define who you are dictate, your potential. Blessings to each of you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for having us.
It's truly a wonderful way to start the week. Wow. Well, tomorrow, come back for more Talk Today right after the midday news and midday meditation. Until then, be blessed.
Shaken yet standing firm. This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.